it couldn't get much worse than what she'd already been through. She had been glad to get Christmas over and done with, to be truthful. She'd got the impression that her mother had pulled out all the stops in a last-ditch effort to persuade her to stay. Lily was all too aware that there was little money to spare, and yet her mother had produced a roast of sorts with plenty of vegetables to disguise the lack of turkey, and even a small plum pudding. Her father had done the honours and carved the scrawny chicken, and then afterwards had poured brandy over the pudding and set it alight, as he'd done for as long as Lily could remember. She had dutifully oohed and ahed, as she didn't want to upset them, but all the while she had been itching to leave. Lily hadn't stinted on presents for them, turning her bargain-hunting skills to full advantage. She had managed to find a warm woolen waistcoat for her father, who was prone to chest infections. For her mother, she had followed a rumour of jewellery for sale and tracked down somebody who had worked in the city centre until the shop was destroyed by a direct hit. Now he was selling privately, if you knew where to go. Lily had ventured out to a semi-detached house, in a somewhat better road than her own, and was relieved to see a selection of items she could just about afford. Her mother had gasped with delight when she had unwrapped a small velvet box, the paper carefully saved from last year, which contained a turquoise necklace. Lily had been glad. She did love her parents, but she didn't want to end up living their lives. Guilty or not, she knew she had to leave for a better future. She deserved it, she told herself. She gave a little shiver now, despite the crowded clamminess of the carriage. It was excitement, she told herself, not fear. There was nothing to be afraid of. She'd made her decision, applied for her transfer, and that was that. She was needed where she was going. They'd be glad to have her. She would not look back. She was taking her future in her own hands, and there was no room for doubt. That was all in the past. Firmly, she shut her mind to the memories of the quiet celebrations with her family. Her parents weren't musical, but a friendly neighbour a few doors down had a piano and invited them to sing carols on Boxing Day. Lily had always felt a little embarrassed at this tradition, as nobody could sing very well and the neighbour's dog usually snored loudly all the way through. It also smelled of wet dog and overcooked vegetables rather noticeably. Yet her parents always reminded her that the offer was made out of kindness, and you never knew when you would need a neighbour's helping hand. Lily had squirmed. That was exactly the sort of thing she was moving away from. It had been funny to bump into somebody she knew at the station just before her train had pulled in. He'd been coming back to visit his parents, carrying a bag obviously full of presents, having had to miss the festive season itself. "Where are you working now?" she had asked, curious to hear about someone else who had made the break from family and all things familiar. "Oh, down south," he'd said, tapping his nose. "Loose lips sink ships, eh?" She had nodded, realising he couldn't really tell her precisely, as he must be in the forces, despite his civilian clothes today. Then she told him what she was doing, and he'd looked at her with keen interest. Not that kind of interest, she had soon recognised, as they continued to talk until her train was ready. Still, he was good company for the few minutes that they had, and she'd always liked him when they'd trained together. He wasn't what many people would call handsome, but his intelligent looks grew on you. Such a shame he didn't seem to be based in London. But she knew full well that plenty of doctors were attached to the airfields and naval ports along the south coast. Absently, she touched her fine wool collar once again. Soon it would be time to swap her elegant coat for something more practical. Carefully folded into her suitcase was a serviceable and warm navy cloak. That would be a vital part of her uniform where she was going. From tomorrow, she would be a district nurse once again, but instead of working in the streets of Liverpool that she'd known all her life, she'd be based in the East End. She didn't have to check the form.